Hello, I'm State Representative Brian Blake, a representative for the 19th District, which is part of Grays Harbor County, part of Cowlitz County, all of Wahkiakum County, and all of Pacific County. And right now I'm standing at the historic Pacific County Courthouse here in South Bend, Washington. This is one of the early courthouses in the state, and as you can see, it's quite a beautiful building. Inside there's some stained glass, and one of the interesting features of this building was its copper dome roof, which seemed to leak frequently, and through a lot of work the county has solved that leak problem. Today we're going to be touring around the district and looking at some of the things that are grown in Washington, so come with us. We're here today in the beautiful Willapa Valley with
Lynette Faulkner
and Bob Faulkner.
They are the proprietors of the Custer Creek Tree Farm, and let's learn a little bit about that tree farm.
Our tree farm is 837 acres, 175 acres of agriculture land, and then the balance in timberland.
How often do you harvest on this tree farm?
We have a sustainable yield of 10 acres a year for a 65-year rotation. Now on our tree farm, our son has been running the mill. He's just moved down here to start taking over with us and his sisters. And so he's learning by going to different meetings with the tree farm and different seminars. And so he can pick up the things about working in the woods, working with the mill, working on the ag land, etc.
I just wanted to tell you as a legislator how important my mother was in this role, that she was an advocate way before her time, and she would write letters to legislators. We've got copies of them way back 50 years ago, and it is really important for small businesses to work with government agencies and legislators, and she would copy, but the old typewriter with carbon copy in it, and she had a lot of results and really appreciated working with legislators.
Locally, we have the Pacific County Farm Forestry Association, which we try to enable people to learn more ways to raise trees sustainably and different ways to improve their tree farms. It's been a challenge year by year to be able to continually operate our tree farm in an economical manner, because our family depends on this tree farm. You know, our kids have gone through school because of our tree farm. Our medical insurance is paid for because of the tree farm. And so our interaction with the government is important. If we have streamside rules, it makes a big difference if it's a 25-foot zone, a 50-foot zone, a 180-foot zone, and how much timber we can take out of that.
Well, thank you very much for having us here at your tree farm, and I hope to be seeing you soon.
Thanks, Brian. We appreciate it.
Thank you for representing us.
Thank you. I'm here in beautiful Bay Center, Washington, with an oyster grower, and tell us your name. And
I'm Richard Wilson. I came here about 40 years ago. I was a college professor and came here to actually start an oyster hatchery, and then wound up obtaining a farm, and then down the road obtained another farm, and currently we farm close to 800 acres, and we're one of the larger farms on the bay. So that's been 40 years of my life right there in a nutshell.
So tell us about the importance of shellfish farming to the economy of the Willapa region.
Well, it's one of the larger employers. Of course, we have a very sparsely populated county, but it employs probably around 500 people, the industry here in Willapa, for example. I think the gross product coming off of the oyster farm is around 35 million, something like that. And of course, since it's a farming activity, there's a multiplication factor. And the factor is probably around 2.5 to 3. In other words, for every dollar that our company earns, there's another $2, basically, $2 to $3 earned with people processing, selling, smoking, whatever they have to do to the product. So the farm is the first step, and then there's that added on revenue.
Now, Willapa Bay is one of the most pristine estuaries on the west coast, maybe in the nation. Behind us here at the mouth of the Pailix River was just a few years ago a huge meadow of Spartina grass. And due to the efforts of many, including the oyster growers, that Spartina is nearly gone from the bay.
The meadow behind us was over 600 acres of packed 6-foot-tall Spartina. It had no other things living on the flat, no worms, no clams, no nothing. And due to the work of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and all of the agencies and the representatives and the oyster growers and the Audubon Society and all kinds of people, we were able to come in and without too much hassle, eradicate it. And we're in the final process of that now.
Well, thank you very much, Dick.
Good luck, and I want to mention that you've been a great help to our industry too. And we really need that when we're working through some of the logistics at the state level. So it's very important.
Well, it helps that I do love to eat oysters, so. Well, here we are today on the beautiful Palyx River at Bay Center, Washington, at the Rose Ranch, here to meet with the proprietors, and you are?
I'm Bob Rose.
And,
Jim Rose.
now, this ranch here, you run how many head of cattle here?
We run 300 stock cows and about 300 other head, so we usually have around 600 total year-round. And then we'll produce 300 calves off those stock cows.
Now, the cattle industry is very critical to the economy of Washington State and a large part of the economy.
You know, there's only 3 jobs on our ranch, but with those 3 jobs, we produce enough meat for 1,500 people. These are Angus Simmental cattle. They're mostly 3/4 Angus, 1/4 Simmental, which is a European breed. It adds a little more growth and muscle to them. We raise about 650 to 700 pound average calves, and then this time of year, like in the next 2 weeks, most of them will be heading over to a feedlot in eastern Washington. We also raise feeder cattle. We buy young animals and winter them and then turn them out on grass to get the gain on them, and then they go to the feedlot as yearlings. So those are kind of our 2 main beef operations. The reason we do that is we can't keep enough beef cows here with 90 to 100 inches of rain a year all winter to utilize these fields in the summer. We can't keep enough to utilize the fields in the summer because they would turn it all to mud in the winter. So we have to kind of move things out in the fall.
Well, that's an interesting overview of cattle ranching in Bay Center, Washington. And do you have somebody coming up to take your place in the future, children that are interested in ranching?
Yeah, I have 3 sons, and the middle one has said for sure he's coming back, and I think the older one might possibly wind up here too. And the younger one's still 10, so he's a ways out yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're planning on taking it to the next level.
Thank you very much. Well, here we are in Ilwaco, Washington, in our Grown in Washington tour, and I'm here on the Cranberry Farm with the proprietors.
I'm Malcolm, and this is my
Ardell McPhail.
Well, it looks like you're out there working the fields today. Tell us a little bit about the Cranberry Farm and the process that you go through.
Well, this is our first day of harvest. We're just beginning today, and we'll take these off tomorrow. And this is a new bog here, which isn't producing its 3rd year, and it takes 4 years to get a good crop. This is our 31st year in cranberries. We have 122 acres, counting my son has 17, we have 56, and then we have 48 that we own together. There's 550 acres on the peninsula, about 1,650 in the state, and there's 110 growers. I think that the gross income is around $10 million, and we're told that that accounts for around $30 million if you consider all the auxiliary people that benefit from the industry.
I look behind me here, the color of these berries, and then I look in front of me here, it looks like a darker berry. Are there different varieties?
They are. These are Pilgrims, and we've had really good luck with Pilgrim. They're a bigger berry, and we've had higher production from them. These are Stevens here. We just planted 14.5 acres this year and renovated. We took out old beds and put in new beds.
Ardell, you were telling us on the way in that bog that had been renovated
Right.
was originally planted when?
1910. So they'll last forever if you don't mess them up.
Behind me here, you've got some cranberries knocked loose and they're floated up, and tomorrow you will harvest those, and then what happens?
Well, we'll pump that up a little higher over this evening, and as soon as we take the berries off, then we pull a plug over here on a 12-inch culvert, and it goes over so we reuse the water. And as a matter of fact, when we get finished with the water, it goes down to the neighbor and they reuse it as well.
Well, this is a beautiful farm you have here, and I always find it enjoyable to come visit, and certainly look forward to it today.
We're very happy to have you representing us as the chairman of the Ag Committee.
Well, thank you for that.
And we want to keep it that way.
I enjoy it myself.
You
so.
bet. Very good.
We're here today in Ilwaco, Washington, with the head of the Ilwaco Charter Boat Association, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, my name is Butch Smith. I'm president of the Ilwaco Charter Association. Also, I and my wife own Coho Charters and Motel of Ilwaco, Washington.
Now, things are winding down in the charter boat season, and how was it this year?
It was okay. You know, the economy's affecting everybody, you know, but it's a fishing business and it's an all right year.
Now, our fisheries are critical to the economy of the Lower Columbia region, and we have our charter boat fleet here, and we also have a bit of a commercial fleet, and people kind of work together here and get along, huh?
Yeah, the charter industry and the commercial industry is Ilwaco's Boeing and Microsoft. We all work together down here because Ilwaco is the fishing industry, and that's our number one employer, our number one income for our area. And without the fishing natural resources, this port would be empty. You wouldn't see any boats down here. The local charter boats annually to the town of Ilwaco in sales tax are $2 to $3 million a year. And to put that in some kind of perspective, the budget for the Ilwaco city is $3 million. So it's a pretty good contribution of what charter fishing has alone, but you add the sport fishing side, and it's huge. It's what keeps the restaurants and the motels and everything, the tourists coming to the port of Ilwaco. It's just hugely important, along with the other commercial fisheries also.
You run charters for both salmon and sturgeon fisheries?
My two boats, we run for salmon and sturgeon, and we run for albacore and halibut also. We do all the fisheries that are included in the sport fishing down here at the Lower Columbia out of Ilwaco. We're lucky in having some of the greatest fishing in the world, and usually our people most always come back with their limit, if not real close to, and we encourage and hopefully that everybody has a great time that fishes with our charter service, because that's what it's all about, coming out and having fun with your friends and family.
Thank you very much for coming with us today, and see you soon.